So this video is going to be me discussing how I ended up with depersonalization / derealization, and I'm going to be talking about where I am right now, which is 3.5 months since having this condition. I still think I've got it. However, sometimes I think that I probably might have something else. And I'm making this video for two reasons. I want to document where I am right now and hopefully look back in a couple of months and I'll be completely different, in a different space, and hopefully I won't suffer from this anymore. And number two, there may be people that are scouring YouTube or the internet looking for people with the same symptoms. So just to clarify, I haven't been diagnosed clinically with this condition. It's just what I've self-diagnosed myself to be. So just take that as you will. It's not a clinical diagnosis that I've got. So in October, I was around 2 years dealing with the grief of losing a family member, and although I was doing okay, the grief would come back. It was always there, but I would always feel it. Even the thought of the person that passed would make me teary-eyed, and I thought that I just felt stuck, and I just wanted to change the trajectory of my life because I just feel like I obsess over things too much, and I just wanted to see the beautiful part of grief, the good part of grief, rather than always being sad and angry and confused. So I found articles online and scientific papers online that said that psilocybin was good for rewiring the brain, it's good for depression, and just overall your mental health. It helps the brain in many ways create new neural pathways. So I stupidly decided to microdose, and this wasn't a decision that I took lightly. I did think about it for a couple of months and I decided not to do it, and then because I felt so stuck in my grief, I just decided, this is it. I can't be bothered with feeling like this all the time, so I'll try the mushrooms. So I tried it a couple of times at a very low dose and it was fine, but I incremented too quick, I think, and there was people online saying that they took, or to microdose, they take the dose I took, and I took the typical dose, and within an hour I started to feel strange, and then the next thing I know, it's not that I didn't recognise my bedroom, but the atmosphere in the room changed. So it felt like things were unfamiliar and I just couldn't recognise my bedroom anymore, I couldn't recognise things in my house, and I went into a panic attack because I thought I was going into psychosis. So I ended up leaving the house and mid-panic attack, getting in my car and driving. But because I know it's a stupid idea, don't drive when you're having a panic attack, but for some reason I just needed to escape. So I was driving, and at the time that I was having my panic attack, the sky was like red and purple and pink and like amazing, like all these amazing colors. And so it took me a couple of hours to calm down, but I never fully calmed down, if that makes sense. If you have this condition, you might know what I mean. I just was constant. It was just like someone pressed a button inside of me and it's never been turned off. So for the following days after that, the following weeks after that, all that I could do was sit or lay in my bed and play a game on my phone. And every time I would get out of bed, I would feel that panic feeling of feeling like I don't know where I am and think I broke my brain. I should never have done these mushrooms. I'm a complete idiot, and feeling like I've started the domino effect to psychosis. So the first 6 weeks were really, really, really intense, really bad. Like I said, I could barely leave the house. I was barely eating as well. I could hardly watch TV, and things just became very scary. I was hypervigilant, and I was seeing my peripheral vision like 180 all the time, and I would notice the changes of the sky, of the light, of everything all the time. So I became quite scared of the sky, believe it or not. But I guess it makes sense because of the events that happened after the panic attack. So, yeah, I'm still kind of in that zone still at the moment where things just feel different. It just feels like I'm seeing the world through a different lens, and I want it back. So just to mention a few of my symptoms, I know I'm jumping all over the place, but I was carrying that grief, that heavy grief in my chest every day, or just in my body every day, and it was so shallow, like it was to the surface level of me that I could just think about something and I would instantly tear up. Ever since that panic attack, I find it impossible to cry. And I went from one extreme to the other. I went from extreme sensitivity to numb, like just complete numbness, but not complete numbness, blunted emotion, should I say. I still feel emotions, but at the beginning, especially, all I could feel was fear. Fear, like, was the prime emotion that I felt. Worry, fear, misery, but not true sadness, not true anger. I can feel some happy emotions, but they don't feel genuine because I feel like I'm hiding what I'm going through. So another thing is the first 6 weeks were the hardest. I could barely leave my bed, like I said. However, things started to they've been gradually getting better as each week goes on. So I'm against medication for the most part because I don't think it helps the root of the issue. So the thing is, with this DPDR, I've had anxiety and depression issues pretty much my full life, and I've always been able to handle them. However, I feel like if this is DPDR, it's almost like it's put a battery into my poor mental health and injected. It's like steroids. Like it's just like the steroid version of my depression and anxiety. It's just turned full capacity. So like I've been getting a lot of intrusive thoughts, broken sleep. After 6 weeks, I started having broken sleep where it doesn't matter what I do, I can fall asleep okay. I know some people with DPD are terrified to go to sleep. With me, it's the opposite. I can go to sleep fine, but I'm guaranteed, no matter how tired I am, to wake up at least 3 to 4 times a night, every single night, without fail, and that's been happening for around 6-7 weeks now. So it's confusing me because I'm like, do I have PTSD, CPTSD? So those are my main symptoms: the increased anxiety, the depression, and the intense depression, the intrusive thoughts. I was having deja vu moments where I would swore I've seen this movie, and it was almost like I could predict what was going to happen. That happened a couple of times. That was scary. I'm having not flashbacks, just unresolved memories coming up to the surface, and also flashbacks of old dreams or old dream environments, which is really strange. I'm sure there's probably other symptoms that I've got. I don't have it as intense as other people, so I can drive that might be because I was driving as I was having the panic attack with DPDR. So maybe that's why I can drive. I actually find it helps me. And what else was I going to say? The thing that people talk about, not seeing things in 2D, I don't really have that as much. If I think about it, I can see that, but it doesn't scare me as much as like looking in the mirror, for example. I avoided looking in the mirror for for a couple of weeks, and still to this day, I don't like to look too much at my reflection because it creeps me out a wee bit. So I'm still got those little things, but I'm fine for the most part. So I just want to say this is where I'm at the moment, and I am obsessed and frustrated, and all I do is research it, which you shouldn't do, but you can't help it because all you want to do is go back to the way you used to be. And I reached out to my doctor and said, look, I can't cope. I've got a new job that I'm starting and I can't cope. So they, of course, prescribed me sertraline. If you're from the UK, you know that's their first protocol, is to prescribe you sertraline. And I was seeing a counsellor at the time that I couldn't afford because I didn't have a job at the time. And he advised that because I was very anxious about going on medication in case it made it worse. And he said that if you break your capsule or your tablet into three rather than take the full 50 milligrams, then if you do that for maybe a week or two, it will slowly build up in your system, and then you can take half a pill. So I'm still on half a pill, and I feel like that has helped the panic attacks as much. The first 2 to 3 weeks were quite bad, but I've been on it for like maybe 5 weeks now, and I do feel a little better, but it doesn't get rid of the DPDR. It just makes it more manageable, or more tolerable, should I say. Another thing is I've just reached out to a couple of counsellors, trying to find someone that can facilitate trauma therapy, so like things like EMDR, and that's where I'm at the moment. So I had my consultation yesterday with a new therapist because the one that I previously spoke about, it was expensive, which I don't mind if it was effective. However, there was a couple of things that that some therapists shouldn't say to clients, and it seemed like his ethics were not the best. So, but to add to that, with this condition, there was a couple of days where I was convinced that I was schizophrenic because I'm so hypervigilant and I'm paranoid about being paranoid. I'm like hyper aware of seeing like flashes at the side of me, or if I'm seeing a reflection, or if I feel like I'm hearing something. I make sure to ask people, "Did you hear that? Did you hear that?" Just to make sure that I'm not going insane. And yeah, that's pretty much most of it. I'm sure there's things that I've missed out, but I just want to add my 2 cents to the DPDR chat because from what I've read, this is an underdiagnosed and overlooked symptom or disorder or condition, depends on how you want to label it. However, I think it's very important that there's as much information as possible because I know how miserable I feel, and it's like every day is like a battle, and I know that sounds cliche, but it's true. I just feel like I'm scared to be by myself. I'm scared to be in silence at this point. And I'm someone that loves or used to love their own company, but it's like my brain is sabotaging me and taking me to like dark places. And yeah, if you've got this condition, you may have some of these symptoms, but you rarely hear people talk about it like this. Most people talk about the physical symptoms of seeing things in a certain way, but the biggest issues that I have is the weird, intense depression that some people do have. So if you're freaking out about, like, is depression a symptom? It is, but it's more likely that it was there before, I think. And also with DPDR, another thing that I've not heard many people say and I don't know if this is confirmed, but when I was doing a few consultations with the therapists that I was reaching out to, and I was asking them if they had any experience with DPDR, they would come back and say yes. DPDR is usually a defense mechanism that originates in childhood. So if you're feeling guilty or beating yourself up because you smoked weed, or you've took a drug, or you just feel like you put yourself in a bad situation, it's not your fault. Your brain's just it was probably going to happen at some point, and the drug or the panic attack or whatever it is, it's just brought it out. So try not think what if all the time, because that's something that I struggle with a lot. But recently I'm trying to just accept that I'm in this funk and it should pass. It is slowly improving. So if you're at the very beginning of this, it does get better each week, but it's just very, very, very slow. So yeah, I don't know what else to say. I just thought I would add my own experience, and hopefully in a couple of months I am not suffering from this anymore, because I don't really feel it myself. My motivations went down. Other treatments that I used to use, so like methods like exercising, certain mental tips that I used to use to take myself out of depressed or anxious modes, don't have the same efficacy that they once had. So this is like a much bigger and darker demon than my previous depression and anxiety. It's just very, very intense and confusing as well, because I don't know how I feel half the time. And I don't know if that adds to the hopelessness of the depression, but I just don't know how I feel half the time. I feel confused a lot, and I just want it to end. And it will eventually, but every day is hard. So it's been 3.5 months, and it feels like I've been stuck like this for like 8 months. And trying to talk to people about it that never had this condition, if that's what this is. If I do have DPDR, it's very, I want to say frustrating, but it's just very, very hard to have yourself feel understood, especially when you're feeling like you're going through a mental health crisis and you don't trust your brain because you're worried that you might do something to yourself, or because you feel so out of control that you'll do something to someone else, because you just feel so different. You feel like you're in a different alternative reality. However, that has also faded as the weeks go by. I'm trusting myself more and more. So if you're worried about that at the beginning of your healing journey, it does fade. The biggest thing that has helped was I got a job and I was forced to leave the house, and have to leave the house most days now. And it was horrible at the beginning. It still is horrible, but I need to find a way to afford therapy and also live. And I've noticed that I am a little better, but I still have moments where I want to walk out of work, or I just shut down. And I should clarify, if I do have this condition, if that's what this is, then I've got it chronically. So some people have it episodically, where they go into a dissociative state. I have the chronic part of it, where everything just feels weird and strange and unfamiliar, and I kind of want it back, because I don't know what reality I'm in at the minute. All that I know is that I feel weird and I want to feel normal. So that's pretty much everything that I've got to say. If anyone has similar symptoms, or even if you have different symptoms, then let me know. But I'm curious as to know if anyone has sleep problems, broken sleep specifically, if anyone has the intense depression, confusion, just like a hidden, blunted depression that's quite intense that you can't explain. And how is your journey going? Some people have this for years, and some people have it for weeks, some people have it for months. And from what I can tell, it's just the brain's self-defense mechanism to keep us safe, but it's a pain in the ass. Like when you're trying to function, it can take. You've got to be quite brave to go through this. So for the people that have went through it, they, from what I've read, they say not to comfort your DPDR, not to let it keep you in the house, keep you in your bedroom. Try and go out of your comfort zone and teach your brain not to be scared of the sky or not to be scared of taking public transport, because we adapt, our brains adapt. And yeah, I'm waffling, so I just thought I'd make this video just to add my 2 cents, and hopefully this helps someone.